Well guys, YouTube has done it again. They've just announced some new policies which are making a lot of content creators angry and honestly just scared for their work that they've been producing for a long time to put on YouTube, to grow the platform, and YouTube is kind of betraying them. There's the hashtag YouTube is over party on Twitter, and a lot of this is for good reason. YouTube has not been very clear with things, and they've just announced this new set of guidelines which is basically going to affect a lot of people's work on YouTube, and it's already begun. Some people's content is getting removed, and it's just not fair. And we're going to be talking about some of those details today, but one of the other problems is that this follows a recent announcement that they made regarding kids' content on YouTube, and how that's suddenly not going to be able to be monetized, which means no one's going to be making money from that. And it is a whole problem that we're going to be talking about in a different video, because that does roll into effect in 2020 and it is going to mess up YouTube. But we'll focus on the one today, which is around bullying and harassment, and that YouTube is basically blocking any videos that promote bullying and harassment, or that are doing bullying and harassment on YouTube, which it sounds good at first, but there are a lot of problems with it, because it's basically just taking out people's videos that are criticizing anything, or kind of making fun of anything, and that's something that YouTube has been built up around. And it kind of sounds good at first. You think, of course, you don't want people bullied on YouTube, you want people to be protected and to feel safe or whatever, but when you actually look at the details of this, it's not so much protecting YouTubers, it's actually protecting the advertisers, which is basically all that YouTube really cares about. They just want to protect their money, their income source, and of course that is the advertisers. They want to make them feel safe, and like their content is being put on other YouTubers' content that's really perfect and family friendly, but not too family friendly, because then that could be kids. It's just a whole mess. But we're going to look at some of the details and why this doesn't really make sense and why it's not fair to the creators. So basically, one of the first things that we can talk about is someone like iDubbbz. If you don't know who that is, he basically makes videos kind of making fun of and criticizing other YouTubers. For the most part, it's very well warranted. These are sometimes people that are quite awful people. Even if they're not awful people, they do things that maybe aren't the best, or it's easy to kind of poke fun at. But, these are big creators a lot of the time. They're people that can take it. They're people that know what they're doing when they're putting their content out there. And he's basically had videos removed because he's criticizing other people. Like, that's one of the very first things that YouTube was kind of founded on. It's kind of something for anyone to post whatever they want and share their feelings. Now, when he's making these videos and a lot of these other criticism videos that other people make, it's not something that's initially to make that person feel scared or like they're going to be in harm. He's not saying he's going to go out there and hurt them. He's not saying he's going to be, doing awful things. It's simply to make fun of, poke fun at, and overall just kind of maybe show a side of the YouTubers that other people didn't realize. So he kind of just helps people realize when people are taking it too far, or, also just making entertaining videos. It's okay to do that kind of stuff. That's what YouTube has been for a long time. So his videos have already been removed because they are bullying other people, and that's like what he's been doing the whole time. And forget iDubbbz, this is a lot of people's type of content. A lot of it is review type videos of other people's work, or it's talking about things that are going on, whether that's a news source because something happened relating to a YouTuber or someone else, not even a YouTuber, just someone in general. You want to talk about things. You want to make sure people are knowing about it. If it's something that relates to your channel, of course that's going to be something that you're going to talk about, because it affects your viewers. It affects what you do. So to not be able to talk about that, it doesn't make sense at all why YouTube would be restricting people like that. And to go even further, it just doesn't make sense, because absolutely that YouTube isn't going to be removing an Eminem diss track. I saw this one on Twitter. Someone mentioned, like, if people are getting their videos removed for making fun of or insulting people, is YouTube going to remove the Eminem diss track where, he's talking about how he's going to kill Machine Gun Kelly? YouTube isn't going to do that. They're not going to punish Eminem for something like that. But in reality, Eminem is saying much harsher things than someone like iDubbbz is. And I'm not saying that Eminem stuff should be removed. I think it should all be available and all be included. But you can see where YouTube's motives are when they're clearly not going to touch someone like Eminem. They're going to keep ads on those music videos. They're going to keep running all that stuff. But the second, someone with less respect, someone with less media coverage is going to be a little bit on the tipping line, they're going to throw them in the water. They're going to demonetize the videos and things like that, and potentially even just remove the videos completely, which absolutely destroys someone's hobby and potentially job. Someone like iDubbbz, that's his job. That's what he does for work. And to just have that taken away, that's absolutely ridiculous. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the fact that they're doing this to videos that were already previously on YouTube. It's one thing to say, this is our policy going forward. If you do this, your video might get removed. But you can't go back and remove people's videos that have been doing the same type of thing for years and years under your guidelines. Like, it was allowed, there was nothing against it. So you can't just change the law and then punish people for something like that. It's something that was completely okay, something that people build their channels off, and something that's very important to YouTube, especially when it was starting. And then to go back and now say, we're gonna screw you over for all the work you've done, even though you've helped build up YouTube and a community, doesn't matter, we're gonna remove all of that now. And, going forward, you can't do it either. You have to be, responsible about it. If these are people's lives, you can't just remove everything they've worked towards when they were following the policies all along, just because you decide to change it now. That just doesn't make sense at all. But just a few more things I want to say is that, do I think YouTube is going to end from this? Do I think everybody's going to leave the platform? No. Do people on the hashtag YouTube is over party think that? Maybe some of them. Maybe people are very angry. Well, of course people are very angry, but no one's really going to be leaving the site yet. At least that's very unlikely. While I would love for there to be an actual competitor to YouTube, it just hasn't happened yet. And the problem is, we have to accept these policies and we have to work with them, which is why I say that it's really frustrating that they aren't transparent about it, since they do own such a huge portion of the internet, especially video creation. It's just where we are, and we have to accept it, but it's hard to accept it when we don't know what we need to do to follow these policies, and we don't know if the past things we've created are suddenly going to be flagged out. There has to be some protections for these creators. And the problem is just that, is that there's not an alternative. There's Vimeos, there's Dailymotions, but people don't really go on there. And the things that do come out that are somewhat, competition for YouTube is something like TikTok, or it's going to be something like Twitter, Instagram, but it's a totally different platform. YouTube is the only one where you're going to be seeing videos and content quite like this. And I would love to see a competitor. I love YouTube. Like, it's my favorite thing. I would love for them to be the one to continue going forward with the top content creation on the internet. But when they do things like this, it makes it very tough. I'm not going to be leaving YouTube anytime soon. A lot of these people, I'm sure even iDubbbz isn't going to be leaving YouTube anytime soon, but it does make a lot of people scared when you have these things floating around. And I don't think people should feel that way. I don't think YouTube wants people to feel that way. And I know that not everything is their fault. For instance, the FTC thing with the children content and advertising, like, they didn't want to have to do that. I get that. A lot of these policies are, from lawmakers that are very old. They do not understand modern media, and so that kind of affects things, or they're trying to protect the big broadcast TV companies. We get that. We understand that YouTube is kind of in this middle portion where they have to be careful, but they just aren't doing it right, and they can do it better. And if you're asking me to lay out all the rules, I don't have them all for you. That's not my job. But I know it's very clear that they can do a lot better with the way they display things, with the way they roll things out, and how they communicate with us. They release, very short, kind of newslettery type emails that kind of outlaw or kind of outline the rules, but they just don't really dive into any details, and they can give us more. So that's the problem that I have, is that they just don't want to for whatever reason, and that needs to change. So with that being said, I just think that YouTube needs more competition. They need to be more transparent. Someone needs to force them to be more transparent, because the second someone else really does come along, and it can happen. People think that YouTube's invincible. I don't think it's invincible. We see things change very, very quickly, and I could easily see YouTube losing its momentum in 2020s if they don't change. There will be something else. There will be something else, so YouTube has to keep going, and I would love to see them do that, because it's a great content platform, but it needs significant changes. And it would be one thing if they were explaining the situation in depth, but they just kind of release these statements without much backing, without really explaining exactly why and whose content is going to be affected and what this means for people going forward. They just say things and they just expect you to figure it out when they don't even know themselves. Like with the thing I was mentioning about the kids content, they basically just said, like, don't ask us. If you want to know what's going on, you should probably contact a lawyer. And the thing is like, people don't just have money to go spend on a lawyer out of nowhere. You know, some of these huge YouTubers might, but even still, like, the lawyers can look at this stuff and they won't exactly know because it hasn't been implemented and no one's been talking about exactly what that means. So a lot of the time it's just gonna be wait and see and then try to figure it out then. Of course, if you have a top tier lawyer, maybe things will work out differently, but people don't have that luxury. People don't have that option. So when you have things like this that happen, you would imagine that YouTube would care a lot about the people who built up the platform in general and explain it to them so that they want to stay, so that they feel safe with posting videos and how it can all go down. But they just simply don't care like that. And I can't understand why. But that's just a little update I wanted to make on a situation that's going on right now. I wanted to know you guys' thoughts about it because I do think that it is important that people don't just get called out for something that might be fake, because you know, you don't want people just making assumptions and random things when they don't have proof or when it's not warranted. But you don't want to be banning people's content, and you don't want to be demonetizing people's content for expressing their opinion. So I definitely think that YouTube stepped way over the line here, especially with removing content that was already made. It's just the wrong way of going about it, and they need to be more transparent. That's the simple fact. They need to be more transparent. And we will be making another video kind of talking about the even worse subject of the monetization of adult versus kids content, which will be going into effect in 2020. So that'll be a mess on YouTube. Luckily, my channel should be just fine. I don't have anything that's on the border, you know, so I should be fine. But a lot of these people who do it as a living, it's gonna be tough to figure out what they can monetize, what they can't, and we'll talk about it then. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please do drop a like, comment down below what you thought. I'd love to interact with you. I'll respond to pretty much everything. And of course, subscribe, stay up to date with the future videos, especially the one that I just mentioned. And follow me on social media as well. I'd appreciate it. It'll be on the screen and in the description down below. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.